Hey everybody, thank you so much for joining us today and sitting in on one of the conversations that Linda and I get to have almost on a daily basis, reflecting on the cool stuff that we get asked to help people with, either individuals or teams, to help improve the way that they experience each other and life generally. So today we want to talk to you about one of the frames, short-term versus long-term pain. So we're either predisposed unconsciously to wanting or to using one of these frames where something happens and we avoid it in the short term so that we can experience comfort. But all that means for us long term is that the pain will surface somewhere. Or the flip of that is to step into our courage zone, accept the short term discomfort or pain to have more pleasure later on. So Linda, how did this conversation even get started?
Well, in one of the many conversations we have, Nick, around some of the stuff that we see in the workplace regularly, and we talk to loads of leaders almost on a daily basis, just talking about some of the things that they avoid with having a conversation with somebody who's not doing things the way they need to be done, or, you know, there's something that's not going as well as it could be, but the leader avoids having the conversation. And when you think about it, like, how many problems do we cause ourselves in our lives generally, let alone at work, by choosing short-term comfort over doing what we really need to do? Doing what we really need to do is about having a conversation with somebody that we need to have, because when you think about the short term, it can be so much easier not to have a difficult conversation, not to stand up for ourselves, not to ask for what it is we want, to not do the things that make us really uncomfortable. And let's face it, I've avoided stuff. I know you've avoided doing things, but what we find and what we talk about regularly with our clients is that those things always come around and bite us on the butt later.
They definitely do.
They never go away. You know, we're far better off to summon up the courage to be bold in the short term. And I love the story that you were sharing when we had a conversation about this yesterday with somebody that you worked with.
Yeah, great. And sometimes it's the pain that we avoid that causes us pain long term, or sometimes it's the pain we avoid that causes other people pain long term. So in this story that I shared with one team that I looked after many moons ago, I had one staff member, a junior member of staff, quite excited about being promoted, and that certainly was our culture. But she was almost had an expectation that she was ready after a very short amount of time. And when a vacancy came up, she put her hand up, asked to chat to me, and I love that, but asked for the position. And I had to say, I love that you're keen, but no, not yet. You're not ready. And she was, I'm going to say, flabbergasted. She just didn't understand. And when I asked, she said, because everybody tells me I'm great. They say, love that you did that. I get that feedback weekly. And in that moment, I said, oh, that's, I love that. I'm going to do a bit more investigation. We'll create a plan. And of course, I looked after that. But I had to go searching, because the feedback I got from my team was that was not the case. So here we come to this frame, right? Because what I found out from the team was that when she did something well, they got so excited, because for 90% of the time, it wasn't really great. So when it was okay, and I'm just saying okay, they would say, great work, because it was a relief that they got some of the stuff done well. And so we had a conversation about how misleading that is, to be told your average work is great and to not get the feedback in those moments that mattered, that it could have been better, different, could you have offered to help, whatever the case may be. But it set up a poor expectation in her. It created an issue for me, because she obviously perceived herself very differently to the way the team did. So we then had this conversation about, how do we do this? How do we sit together? Do we want to know if we're upsetting people? Because she was, frankly, shocked and embarrassed when I had to give her this feedback. So, you know, created a whole other level of conversation. We can talk about those in other sessions. But the whole idea of avoiding what needs to be said in the moment because it might not be comfortable isn't serving anybody. And so we've got to teach people how to do that for themselves and do that for other people so that the future doesn't have these bombs that go off. It's like walking on a landmine later.
Yeah, and it's not fair, Nick. It's not fair to anybody. It certainly wasn't fair to that team member of yours to not know that she wasn't doing a great job. And can you imagine being the only one in your team who doesn't realise you're not doing a great job or you need to improve something because no one's telling you. We don't necessarily see these things ourselves. We don't deliberately set out to do a crap job. So if no one's telling us what we need to do to improve, how the hell are we going to ever know? So so for us as leaders, it's really on us to be able to step forward and give people the feedback, tell them, you know, what needs to occur differently or a stretch for people or how they can do better. It's on us.
Well, this is where they say feedback is actually gold or kind, but to withhold that, actually the ecology of that is very poor. And when I say ecology, it doesn't serve the person, it doesn't serve you because you're not stepping into your courage zone and learning how to express what you need, and it doesn't serve the greater good either. So that was a really interesting moment, and that's a work example. There are so many in my personal life, so I probably didn't have as much of a challenge with this frame at work, but I definitely noticed it once I learnt it more in my personal life, being able to step up and say what I really needed to say. I kind of avoided things, or, you know, you tell the occasional white lie just to save the drama of having to face someone being disappointed or upset with you. But if you take that moment to do that, the pain is short. You might rumble for a short amount of time. And I'm thinking about in my home life where I've you know, lost it too late because I avoided it when I needed to, and it comes up and it's ugly later and loud and messy and unresourceful, and then we get iced out. We ice each other out for, you know, at least a day. And frankly, that's just a really poor choice, and there's a better way to experience life and a better way to share yourself with other people.
And if you don't address it in the moment, you get that, I don't know if you've ever felt that tiny little bit of resentment, you know, deep in your gut. And then you start looking for things that to reinforce it, and it just keeps on building that resentment. I know that certainly happens at home from time to time when we're not courageous enough to have a conversation, or we just think we'll let it go. So 3 things, Nick. We've got 3 things that we want to share with everybody on what they can do to avoid getting themselves into long-term hot water or long-term discomfort. By actually understanding how they can address things in the moment. And the first one there is awareness. So actually have an awareness of what's going on in that moment when there's something that you know you need to tell somebody. What would you say about having an awareness?
So awareness now means that you'll likely notice the next moment that comes, you'll have the thought, I wish they would, or are they kidding? They think that's a good version of, you know, or their best work, or they think that's showing up for me. You'll now know when you have the opportunity to step into your courage zone and take that resourceful step forward to say something. So we just want you to be aware. Notice with compassion, no judgment.
Notice. That's it. So it's a really simple step. So awareness. The second step is acknowledgement. So acknowledge what's going on for you in that moment. What's coming up for you? Wow, there's something that's going on in my team. I need to address it, but actually, I don't want to address it. So if you can, once you're aware of it, if you can acknowledge it, wow, this is hard. This is actually really tough. I know I need to do something about it, and I'm feeling these feelings of avoidance come up, or fear or whatever
Yeah.
whatever else is coming up for you.
Yeah, and I love that you say that, because part of that is it's our perception driving the belief that this is hard more than the reality of how people behave when we say what we need. And it does matter how we say it. So part of the acknowledgement is accepting that maybe I'm thinking this is going to be a lot worse, and just giving yourself a break, backing yourself and recognizing that, you know, you're prepared and wanting to change something. So I think that's part of the acknowledgement and acceptance too.
Yeah, totally. And the third very simple step, simple but not always easy, is that taking action. So know that you need to have a conversation with somebody and step into your courage zone and take the action to do that.
Yep.
And as I say, like, it sounds really simple when you say it in that short space of time, in a few seconds, but to actually do that takes courage. It takes a nice deep breath, knowing what to do. How do I take action in this? And know that when you first start taking action on anything like this, you're going to be clunky. You're going to stuff it up, and that's cool. It's actually okay to stuff it up, and you can even acknowledge that with the person that you're talking to. I want to share this with you. Can I make an observation? And then share it. And if it doesn't come out right, say it. Just say, oh, that's a bit clunkier than I was hoping that it would come out.
Yeah.
And keep having that conversation. Keep stepping into your courage zone.
Yeah. But that action, because it's a decision about how you want to be and how you want others to experience you, even if it is clunky, it feels fantastic. And this is where self-esteem comes from, where you honour what's important to you and you take a step towards it. Who cares if we F it up every now and then? In fact, I still am working on this myself to this day. I think it'll be important to me about showing up for other people, but it just takes practice. So no, you're going to muck it up every now and then, but we're after little micro moments of progress, not instant perfection, because that just doesn't exist.
Love the way you say that micro moment, because it can be a small moment. It doesn't have to be massive.
Oh gosh, absolutely. But these little moments that's a way that you can step into an excellent mood for the rest of the day or the week or the month, because you've been clear, because clear is kind. You've honoured yourself and your needs. You're speaking with clarity. People know what you need from them. Frankly, this is just, imagine work environments where this sort of stuff happened in a really resourceful way.
Thank you so much, and thanks for sharing that story, Nick, because that's the kind of thing that really brings this to life.
Yeah.
So we trust that you have gotten some really cool steps that you can take away. So awareness, acknowledgement, and action. And we would love to hear what kind of stuff has come up for you in the past that you've avoided, and even tell us where you've stepped into your courage zone and dealt with that short-term pain and what an awesome outcome has looked like.
Yes, we'd love to know if you recognise this pattern too, because it's been one we've been playing with for a little while now and getting great results. So we'd love to hear from you. So please interact with us, and we look forward to bringing more of these conversations to you soon. Bye for now.